All right, welcome. Here we go. We're doing episode 5 of the Astrakhan's Feather, which is part of the Hawkesbury Mysteries series. I'm not going to give a real full recap. You just have to go back and look at the previous ones. But let me just say where we left it before was a storm, a violent summer storm has hit Bone Mountain. And Christ has gone to sleep. He's drunk. He's gone to sleep. The storm's beating against his house just down the road in the town of Corrajong. Karen Allen, who's the acting chief inspector, who's come over from the UK, she's on night shift, and so she's sleeping there. She's the only person there in the police station, and this is what's happening with her. Rain mercilessly beat the tin roof. Karen tried to settle in the camp bed. She couldn't sleep. She kicked the single damp sheet away. It was just too damn hot despite the downpour. Splitting, I'll say that again, sky-splitting thunder swallowed her scream. The window panes jittered, grit peppered the glass, the wind moaned, the gutters roared, the air was thick, she could barely breathe. Karen shivered, staring wild-eyed as a violent explosion made the ceiling flex and groan. It was unlike any storm she was used to. This is true, isn't it? In England, thunder rolls and rumbles lazily. Lightning is sheet and beautiful. Rain patters gently. Not always, but that's often the case. In Australia, it's not like that. It's like the end of the world. Karen got up, gingerly approached the window and stared out, kneeling on the bed like the small girl she'd once been. Black hair tied in a ponytail with a pretty pink Givenchy ribbon, a gift from her father and a favourite of hers since she was a teen. There you go, you see. Painting a picture of what Karen looks like, okay? And she likes a little bit of fashion every now and then. Anyway, she rested her hands gently on the window ledge, skein of dust under her fingertips. I'm scrolling down. Sorry, ruining the flow. Just like when she was a kid, nose so close to the pane of glass she could feel it tremor. Storms had always excited her and scared her just a little bit, and truth be told, they still did. Eventually, tired and with the rain dying, tapping on the roof, storm grumbling away off now, she lay down, tried to let the sound soothe her in the warmth of the room. She didn't know Christ, but she smelt him, a faint aroma of warm honey that helped settle her. She could have been asleep, could even have been dreaming, when a flare of lightning coming off the back of a thunderous roar cast a shadow on the bare white wall opposite. Her heart missed a beat. She sat up quick. She snapped her head to the window. The rain was tearing the glass. But there was nothing, just the blackness of the night, constant rumbling thunder and the roar of more torrential rain. She took a deep breath, slowly lay down and tried to calm her madly beating heart. The image she'd seen emblazoned on the wall was enough to make her pull the sheet up and huddle under it despite the suffocating warmth. But no, it couldn't be. After all, he was 9,000 miles away in London. All right, so that's another bit. We'll carry on, because this is important, all right? Now, remember Glory Rich? She was a girl who was thumbing a lift home from the festival that was in the park. And she got a lift from some mystery person. We don't know who that is at this stage. So the new day dawns over a drowsy, sodden land, but the dripping vegetation, puddled ground and overflowing gutters will soon be drought dry, a merciless sun searing all moisture away barely an hour after sunrise. Glory Rich loved early mornings like this after a summer night storm. There was hardly any better time. Lemon sun floating low. Dawn, that is, right? I don't know if you're used to dawn, but that's what it looks like sometimes. The sun winking in and out of grass, caressed by whispering, scent-laden breezes. Mornings like this, she'd let the spring-loaded screen door back slow so it didn't whack and wake her brother and father still asleep inside the comfortable wood cabin that had always been their home. She'd been a gift, her aged father always said, even though her birth had killed a mother who'd really been too old for another child. Padding on bare feet, stretching long brown legs on the cool deck, pretty toes curling, cranking her arms, bending to stretch hamstrings in the sunlight, loosening up. She'd sit at the rough wood table alone, sipping misty tea as she watched a pair of glossy Moss green and brown bowerbirds thrash, snicker and caw softly in the bush. I actually had catbirds down here originally, right, because I couldn't figure out what these birds were that were floating around making all this noise. Anyway, they're bowerbirds, and they're young ones. So anyway, we'll talk about that later. Glory would raise her face to the sunlight, eyes closed, feeling the heat of the day building, and smile her beautiful smile. But on this fresh, clean morning, with the gentle breeze on her face and the scent of marjoram, eucalyptus, even honey from the nearby beehives in Tarrant Fields wafting over her, Glory stared up into the sky. The warmth of the sun was on her face. Her eyes were wide open. Rainwater pooled in her dough browns, seeped down her cheeks, and even puddled in the hollow of her beautifully slender throat. Steam rose from her body. The man next to her had his eyes wide open too. He looked surprised, but then you would with half your head missing. All right, I think we'll carry on. The reason I'm doing this in the day as well is I'm going to a carol service tonight. Not to sing in it, you understand, but I'm covering it for the paper. Saturday here in Tumut, in the Snowy Mountains. Anyway, that'll be okay. A couple of hours down in a town called Adelong. All right, so where do we go next? We go to the Christ household. Daddy, Daddy! Oh, Jesus Christ, rolling on his side, smothering his face in the pillow. He smells beer. It makes him want to throw up. The night was a blank. His head thrums like a calypso drum. Here, Dad, the phone. To stop it ringing, Christ reaches and takes the phone, eyes screwed shut. Yeah? Christ. Yeah? Johnny Trot here. Johnny... Oh, sorry, you're still asleep, I can tell. I was, not now, Johnny. Johnny Trot. Johnny Milko. Christ groans. Not today, Johnny. Jesus, we've got enough. No. Look, something real bad's happened over Tarrant Fields. Christ passes a hand over his face, massages his temples with forefinger and thumb. Doesn't help. I'm not on the force anymore. Yeah, come. Nobody told me. What happened? Anyway, who'd I tell then? Christ sits up and groans as the room swims. Tudor looks at his father with a frown. Sax stands next to his elder brother, Brown Bear dangling from one hand. Call 000, says Christ. No, then I'll get those fools in Richmond. They got no idea. Anyhow, this is a mountain. Should be dealt with by local cops. He sniffed down the phone. Just my feeling, anyway. Christ groans again and massages his temples again. Right, well, what is it? Car crash, says Johnny Milko. Down in the ditch side of the road near the creek. Big expensive motor. Windscreen all smashed up. Had a peek inside. Only from the road, mind. There's blood everywhere. It could well be, thought Christ with a sigh. Some young idiot driving too fast in the rain last night, drunk out his skull. The regularity of it up here was monotonous. It's true. I keep saying that, don't I? See, thing is, says Johnny Milko, the back window is all splattered with blood, all over, like spray paint. Seems strange, that. Christ sits up and frowns. He knows what that sounds like, though there could be a simple enough explanation, or maybe Johnny Milko just had it wrong. Look, says Christ, call the mountain station direct. I'll give you the number. There'll be somebody on duty. Should be able to sort it out for you. Don't, whatever you do, go any nearer the crash site. Don't worry, Mr. Christ, says Johnny. I watch CSI Miami. Well, now there's a relief, Christ thinks sarcastically. Right, give the station a call now, please. Christ puts the phone down, groans, bends forward, rests his head down almost between his knees. He takes a deep breath, slowly looks up with bloodshot eyes. His two sons remain standing in front of him. Boys? Last night, Daddy, says Tudor quietly. Mummy came to see us. Christ says carefully, what did Mummy say? Tudor looked at his father with sad eyes. Said she loved us, said she'd never let us go. She did, said Sax, nodding, eyes wide. But Mama has been gone a long time now. When's she coming back for good, Dada? Christ puts his head in his hands, takes a deep shuddering breath. When he looks up at the boys again, his eyes are wet, but he smiles at them. I think she will always be with us. Sax comes and sits next to Christ, puts a small arm round his shoulders, snuggles his head and Massa kills against his dad's ear and whispers, I would like Mama to hug me. Christ swallows hard. So would I, Sax, so would I. Well, said Tudor into the heavy silence. That is true. That is exactly what he was like in any situation, right? When he was a kid. I would like a bacon and egg sandwich. I would. It been a weekend. What about you, Sax? Sax jerks his head up, looks up at his older brother and says, seriously, Judah Buddha, you know I am always hungry. Christ laughs, brushes. I'll just start that again. Christ laughs, brushes his eyes and smears the tears away and gets up like an old man. I'll fire the Barbie. All right, we'll carry on. Where are we time-wise? 10 minutes. All right, I'll just do you a quick one here. Now, I'm going to introduce you now to some more characters. Yes, it's dense, this book. It's got plenty of characters in. But that's good. That's good, I think. All right. Here we're going to come back to this thing about... Remember I told you right at the beginning, or at some stage before I started doing this, that when this went to that top agent, book agent in Britain, when they rejected it... Yeah, I know. Spoiler. When they rejected it, they said... There's a sexual tension running right through it. And I was as if that was a bad thing, you know. Anyway, rereading it, yeah, it's a bit sexual, but anyway, that's what it is. It's a book for adults, right? It's not for kids. Anyway, here we go. Cooper Blackwelder was giving Inspector Karen Allen a right seeing to, thrusting hard, doing the monkey, as he believed it was called in porn circles. Karen screamed with pleasure, or maybe it was pain. He didn't know which, and he didn't much care. He slapped her ass hard. He loved every second of it and was pretty sure she did too. He put more effort into the strokes, going faster and faster. Hearing her rising screams made him even harder. He grabbed hold of her ponytail with the expensive silk band. He started groaning. "Come on, you pommy bitch, take it," he hisses, pounding into her. Jesus, she was so wet. He was just about to come when the phone trilled by his ear. He opens his eyes, lets go of his erection and grabs it. "You up yet?" Cooper Blackwelder's prick shrivels as he stutters. No, he looks at the clock, 6:28 a.m. "Well, it's early, yes, but I'm afraid you need to move it, Constable," said Karen Allen in a clipped English accent that so turned him on. "Seems we've got an emergency on. Car crash at Tarrant Fields, Turbold Lane, people injured. You know where that is?" Cooper Blackwelder had spent all his 26 years in Bone Mountain, aside from a short and very trying spell at police college. He knew everything there was to know about the mountain. He knew, as Unc would growl, where all the bodies were buried. Of course he was familiar with Tarrant Fields, large acreages down the mountain out to the west of the township, good farmland, big money had properties out there. Turbold Lane itself was narrow, winding, the road pocked, broken in parts. It weaved through grassland, some bush, a few stands of remnant rainforest. "Yeah," he said. "Give me a moment or two to get dressed. I'll be there as soon as I can." "Can you pick P.C. Benson up on the way?" says Karen. "Sure. I'll see you there." Coop put the phone down and stared at the yellowed ceiling. He thought for a moment or two, then looked sideways at the bedside cabinet where amongst his cigarettes, lighter, digital alarm clock and loose change, he saw a wad of notes and pink iPod. He smiled and reached for the iPod, and after some fiddling got it going. He examined the small Bud-like headphones, turning them one way, then the other before putting them in his ears. He listened to some crap. He pulled them off in disgust. Dance music. Fuck these kids listen to these days. No worries. He put his own heavy rock on later once he figured out how it all worked. The iPod had just been one of the items he confiscated on the shout last night. Kids they were. Music too loud, parents away for a long weekend, stoned out their minds. Coop had gone through the house like a dose of salt, taking just enough. iPod, money with two wallets, an expensive-looking silver watch and all their stash. He'd sell the drugs in Richmond sometime next weekend. His partner, Proby Benny Benson, if you're not Australian, Proby is short for probationary, okay? The two of them had been kept busy calming some girls down, little more than kids really, but the one with the long blonde hair had legs he'd love wrapped around him, skirt short, probably not wearing any knickers, little tart. He was thinking about what he'd do with her if she were here again now. His hand was sticky. He wiped it firmly on the sheet. His erection was big again. Suddenly, the blonde was gone with a puff, and there was Karen Allen, a pommy accent making him all hard again. Still time, he thought as he closed his eyes. Lay back and imagined her ordering him to fuck her hard over her desk in her uniform. Yeah, I know. It is a bit too much, isn't it? Let's leave it there with that image in your mind, or those series of images, and I'll come back definitely tomorrow, if not later today, we'll do another episode because it's a long book. All right, take care, you guys, and yeah, I'll talk to you again soon.